Greetings all. We have had some updates. I'm a few days out of date, which is not hard to be, considering that international events that have been affected by Donald Trump's rather radical agenda can change on a daily or even hourly basis. So the current situation, which I find quite distressing, is that he has now withdrawn not only military aid to Ukraine, but also intelligence information. And the thing that is most distressing about this is that the implications of that is the Russians are now going to be able to cause more civilian deaths in Ukraine because they can't predict where the missile attacks are going to come from. And as we know, the Russians are more than happy to attack civilians. And, that's why people are talking about war crimes at the end of this conflict. This is not normal war. This is basically just trying to wipe out an opponent totally. And it's just totally immoral. And how dare Donald Trump try to say that he is for peace and he is appalled by all the deaths in Ukraine and Russia. I mean, he actually has just made a decision by withdrawing the American intelligence that is going to increase civilian casualties in the Ukraine. Now, he's a total hypocrite. He's so full of BS, it's not funny. That's why I'm totally off him now. I thought he was one of these people that was fairly unique. He didn't need to be... There was no need for him to be corrupt at all because he's a multi-billionaire. So therefore he could just be a humanitarian type of president, but he's anything but. He's actually now buddy with Vladimir Putin, who I believe is one of the most evil people we've had on this planet for many, many years. We're getting a replay of the appalling carnages that took place in the 20th century. We thought we were over all that, but no, not with old Vladimir Putin. He's a classic empire builder at all costs, and it's just terrible. So I'm absolutely stunned by that decision by Trump. I don't see any upside to him at all. I don't see that that Russia is going to now just overwhelm Ukraine militarily. There may be more Russians in manpower terms, but the quality of the Russian soldiers is just not up to scratch compared to the Ukrainians. And they've been fighting for 3 years now. They've been fighting prior to that as well, but on a huge scale for 3 years now. And they would be one of the toughest militaries in the world, if not the toughest. And if America had any brains, they'd probably try to arrange a system where they could actually manufacture arms for the American military at a fraction of the cost it would cost in America itself. But of course, Trump is all for American manufacturing jobs, even if it's going to reduce the living standards of Americans because they're paying too much. He doesn't care. He just wants to have tariffs. He's just a very vindictive, vicious person. And it's just totally economically irrational. And the American economy is not in great shape. As a matter of fact, the stock market has taken a huge dive because they know the implications of the tariff increases is going to be inflationary. There's no two ways about it, and that is bad for everybody. But Trump is such a stubborn person that he doesn't seem to give a damn. He's not thinking about the implications. He will be tapped on the shoulder soon because the rational people in the Republican Party will realise that this is a losing strategy, and the midterm elections, which are only 2 years off, people already start campaigning probably in the next 10 months. I'll probably start campaigning. And then the heat will really be on Trump because I have a suspicion that his popularity is going to nosedive. If he continues on with this trajectory, he's going to have to do a few 180s, in my opinion, to salvage his presidency, because at the moment it's on the skids. I mean, this honeymoon period only went a couple of weeks. And, you know, I mean, Biden was terrible, but he actually, he wasn't really in control. He was basically like a puppet of a cabal behind him. Who knows who it was made up of? We can guess, but he wasn't making the decisions. He was just the front man. And, you know, with Trump, though, he is actually an autocratic leader. He's got everybody scared crapless. People like Rubio haven't got a spine. They're not prepared to stand up to him, and because this is all against the Rubio's actual principles. He was very supportive of Ukraine prior to going into the Trump vortex, and it could be the end of his career. So he want to think very clearly about what he's doing, and maybe he will resign if he's got any integrity. Because at the moment, people like Rubio are going, you know, Kellogg is also another one who apparently is being tainted by the Trump brush. It's really sad. I mean, it's like a demonic version of Trump. I mean, as I said before, in his first term, I thought he was pretty good. He did a decent job. What got him was COVID. That basically undermined his regime, and that was something just out of the box. You can't predict that type of thing. Everybody was shocked by COVID, and you know, how do you cope with that politically? And it was very difficult, and it did destroy his first term. And if it hadn't happened, he may well have had successive terms, and maybe that would have been better. I thought this was a great opportunity for him, having a split presidency where he was an incumbent for the first 4 years, and then he lost the presidency. He had 4 years to think about it, and he would come back a much wiser and smarter president. But it's been the opposite. He's become malevolent, in my opinion. He's now showing that the mask is off, and it looks as though he's in bed with Putin. It just seems so obvious. I also want to point out that the other thing that Trump's doing is not just Ukraine that is copying a lot of heat because of his ridiculous, inhumane decisions. It's also places like Canada. They are seething, and I know for a fact they are, because I actually saw there was a blogger who said they will not travel to America. They put off a trip that they were going to have to America. And yesterday I went to Paradise Beach pub, which is an amazing little bar. It's so convivial. And I started chatting to this Canadian couple who were actually contemplating moving over here for at least a year from Canada. They love Da Nang. But what they said was that it was Mike and Laura, and Mike was really pissed off. He was pissed off with all Americans. I said to him, well, it's not all Americans that have made that decision. There's a lot of Americans who are very unhappy with what Trump is doing right now. And he did concede that, but he was so pissed off. He was being malevolent towards the Americans, and he said he will not travel to America while this is occurring. He's just putting a boycott on. He said he's got American friends, and I'm sure most Canadians probably do have American friends because they're so close to one another. They used to be close to one another in a political sense, but they are in a geographical sense. That's not going to change. Not even Trump can change that. But in socially and geographically, there's obviously very close ties. But we Canadians are regarded as very polite, calm people. But tell you what, Mike was out for blood. He was seething with anger about what's happening, the tariffs and what have you. He felt totally betrayed by a neighbour who was in the past a reliable neighbour, and now he feels as though he's being duped by him. So, he's just gone anti-American, and I think that's going to happen a lot throughout the world. I'd hate to think what the average Mexican feels about the United States now. I mean, I just think on a diplomatic level, military level, in every single way, this has been a disastrous presidency. He is going to cause more damage than good. And it's a shame because I'm attracted to his anti-woke policies, the policies of getting rid of DEI, which is just terrible because it does, putting the gender and ethnicity of a person ahead of their ability is insanity, especially when we're talking about crucial roles like piloting an aircraft, being a surgeon. Just in these sorts of roles, you want the best person there, not someone who ticks identity boxes. That's just not on. And so I'm totally behind that. I also love the fact that he's not allowing transgender people to play in female sports teams. I think that is brilliant. And, the Doge thing was good too. I like the idea of actually having more efficient government. We know that, say, Social Security over in America, there's dead people that are receiving pensions, and that is insane. So there's a lot of cleaning up to be done. But unfortunately, Elon Musk's crew of apparently 20-somethings who have gone in hell-bent to just slash and burn, they haven't put too much thought into how important the roles are for government roles for some of these people are. And they're just sacking everybody, not thinking that some of these roles are incredibly crucial, like looking after nuclear stockpiles and things like that. People in that area who all got the sack, and they had to do a 180 and reverse that decision. I mean, this is, and also, I think what the new head of the FBI has actually, he said we're not going to follow these orders of saying 5 things you achieved in the last week. I mean, if you're actually working in a law enforcement area or in an area of national security, there's things you can't tell people anyway. So what's the point of something like that? There's a lot of work to be done. And that's why I'm angry, incredibly angry at Trump for doing things that are not necessary. And in the future, and be remembered as a great leader, well, he's doing the opposite. He's destroying a potentially great presidency, in my opinion. I said that last time. I know I'm repeating myself, but that's how I feel. But this latest news about withdrawing the intelligence, that is just terrible. And look, international relationships are being destroyed. The other thing that was pointed out in another video was they're actually forcing Europe to now put a lot more effort into their own defence, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. They were getting a free ride off the back of America. I agree with that. Trump was spot on with that. But now what's going to happen is that Europe is going to have a massive arms industry, and what it's going to do is basically compete much more strongly with the American arms industry, who are not allowed now to sell arms to Ukraine. So they've lost that lucrative market. And while that's going on, Europe is going to be beefing up their capacity to make arms and do R&D and what have you. And America will be in a much weaker position to sell arms internationally. So that's another area they're going to miss out on. It's just unbelievable. Of course, Elon Musk is also cutting out the Starlink, the Starlink internet connections for Ukraine. Yeah, I just don't understand it. I mean, Elon Musk is a brilliant guy, but he's had a pretty bad week, not only with Doge, but also with 2 of his Starship. This is his second Starship in a row that has just blown up before it's reached orbit. So he's having a really bad time. I thought that was one area where he was going gangbusters with spaceship development, but he seems to have hit a major roadblock, and I don't know if he'll recover from it. But that's another story. As far as Trump is concerned, I don't know how far down he can go. He's made so many bad decisions. It's really depressing. And the other side of it is, who's there to replace him? The Democrats are a rabble. I mean, I've got no love for them. I haven't changed my opinion. I thought Biden was terrible. I'm a guy that is genuinely in the middle of the road at the moment, because I watch pro Trump and pro Democrat type channels, and they're all so biased. It's so obvious that they're coming, that they're lockstep in with each side. There's no middle ground, you know. I mean, unless you talk to people like General Ben Hodges, I think he's a very authoritative figure, because he was a general in Europe, and you know, they have to learn to live with both sides of the political fence. I know he's not happy with Trump, but if there's a more moderate Republican leadership, he had no problem working with them. So, and he's made those points about the intelligence too. You know, Ukrainian civilians are going to die. Donald Trump, bottom line, now has blood on his hands. He's not the peacemaker. He's the destroyer of civil society in Ukraine, because that is basically the heritage he's creating for himself. I think it's really sad. And like I said, Democrats, I mean, who's there do you want to actually vote for? I mean, you've got nutcases like AOC, incredibly hard left. Where are the rational, middle of the road people who can actually appeal to moderate Americans? They're not there. Their conference, they came up with a lot of crackpots going for positions in the Democratic Congress a month or two ago. There's no sign that they've learned anything from that defeat. So it's a very sad situation we have here. We have, we have a president who's off the rails, in my opinion, and we have the Democrats as an opposition who are unelectable, but will probably get in by default because Trump is being so bad. I know, it's just really sad that America has fallen so badly politically, and probably now economically too, given the current decisions with tariffs. I'm hoping that we will see some U-turns. I think, like I said, Trump has to change course, or he is doomed, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's not a very pleasant topic to talk about, but these are my honest opinions. I'd love to hear what you people have said. People did post a few opinions on the last video, so I was quite grateful for that. And I'd be even more grateful if you could support the channel by subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that too, because I'm heading towards the 1,000K, the 1K mark in subscriptions, and that would be nice to get. But I've hit a roadblock at the moment, and nothing's happening. So please, if you feel inclined, give me a subscribe to my channel and support what I'm doing. Thank you.